Hey guys, welcome back to Willow Creek. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. So in today's video, I wanted to give you guys a pantry tour. Now, if you have watched previous videos, you know I am in the process of building a new home. I will have a brand new pantry very, very soon that is way more accommodating for all of my canning needs. So the setup that I have in my basement currently is very, very temporary. I know a lot of people have made comments about the shelving that I choose to keep my canned goods on. This is just for the time being until my new pantry is done, and they will all be wood and very sturdy and stable. But for the moment, this is what I'm working with. Now, I've reached the point in the season where I'm kind of done with all of the big canning projects. There are a couple things that I still need to do, but the bulk of everything is done. So before my family and I start digging into all of this, which we have already a little bit, but I just wanted to go ahead and give you guys a glimpse into everything that I have canned this year and over the years, so that if you are new to this, you can kind of get an idea of maybe things that you would like to try, or maybe you're experienced and want a different variation of something that you haven't tried already. So I have 3 shelves here. You can't see the other one at the moment, but I am going to start on this shelf. Now, I've tried to organize this as best I can. I'm really limited on space, so I just try to utilize what I have. So on the top shelf here is where I keep all of my ready-made meals in a jar, and I put them up on the top shelf because I don't have a lot of them, but it was kind of a bad idea because it's very hard for me to reach these things. So first things first, I make a sausage, cabbage, and potato soup every year, multiple times a year. This is our favorite recipe. I have a video back on my YouTube channel if you would like to go look and see how this is made. It's super nice to have for the winter months, and after I prepare it and take it out of a jar, it tastes just like the zuppa toscana soup from Olive Garden, which if you've ever eaten that soup, you know it's incredible. So I love having this on hand. Next, I have just some plain vegetable soup. I usually add like chicken or hamburger or steak or something to this, so we don't technically eat it as veggie soup, but I do like having this as a base to add other ingredients into. And then next I have some tomato soup. Now, this is something that I just canned probably within the last year. I had never thought to can this before, and it is awesome to just have it on your shelf ready to go. It beats tomato soup in a can from the store any day. And then I have some beef stew in a jar. These are really nice for my husband because he takes his lunch with him to work, so he can literally just take an entire jar of this, dump it in a container, and then he has a lunch that is already ready to go. It also works out really good for dinners and different suppers and, gatherings and things that we have, so I love keeping this on hand as well. And then I have some Sloppy Joe base in a jar. Now, I made this about a year and a half ago. I probably did 5 or 6 of them, and this is the last jar I have. I'm not a huge fan of it with the hamburger. Ground hamburger is just not my favorite thing, so when I go to do these again, I'm just going to do the base of it with the tomato products and not add the meats and things in it, but it is really nice to have it already ready to go. I would just prefer not to have the ground hamburger in it. If you've ever canned ground hamburger, you know it kind of tastes like dog food, and that is not very appeasing. So that is all my ready-made meals in a jar, and I have a lot more of those I need to do, but that is usually like a winter month canning project for me, so I'm pretty low on those at the moment. So look out for some future videos where we refill those together. And then on this shelf, I like to keep all of my broths and beans and just some canned carrots and things. So I do tons of broth every year. I have many, many pints and quarts of it. Broth is incredibly easy to can, and it is very financially effective because it costs little to nothing to can this. You can use the broths and things from different meats and things that you are already making and then jar them up, and you have a homemade delicious broth on your shelf that is ready to go. So this would be considered organic broth because the meats that I use are organic, and if you know, organic broth at the store can be very expensive, and I probably made this for little to nothing, so very, very cost effective. Next, I have some chickpeas. I love having chickpeas on hand. I meal prep with them all the time. And then we have some pinto beans. It is so nice to come down here and just open a jar and add these to all kinds of different recipes and things that I am making. And then I have black beans and red beans. And I don't know why my Great Northern beans are over here and not over here, but then I have Great Northern beans and navy beans. So I can a ton of different beans every year. And then here are just some canned carrots, which have been here since 2023. They're not my favorite. I will probably never can canned carrots again. So this year, definitely I need to get these used up. I'm just really struggling with it because I love carrots, but canned carrots are just not my family's favorite. Okay, so on my next shelf, I have canned potatoes, which I do every year. They are great to have for this time of year, especially as the winter months are approaching. It's nice to have, you know, a quart or a pint of potatoes that you can add to various different recipes. I also canned small Yukon Gold potatoes with the skin on. Now, that is not recommended. So if you are not comfortable canning something with the skin on, by all means, please don't. But I do love having those on hand to put on a baking sheet with some olive oil, a little bit of butter, salt, and pepper. And it's like having fresh roasted potatoes all year round. So I do find those to be very convenient to have for meal prep and things like that. So if you would like to try them, go for it. And if you are not comfortable canning something like that, please don't. But I will can those again every year because I do like having them on my shelf. And then this is just a quick sauerkraut hash. I think it's 1 tablespoon vinegar, 1 tablespoon sugar, and something else. But I tried a different way of canning cabbage this year, and it's just really, really convenient for like breakfast casseroles and different soups and recipes, and you can kind of like fry it up in your skillet and add it to various things. So this has been really nice to have. And then here are just my regular fermented sauerkrauts that I can every year. I have the regular green cabbage version, and then I also can a purple cabbage. Now, canning unfortunately does kill the good bacteria that is in sauerkraut. So I do half fresh every year, and then I can the rest of it. But I do enjoy having it on hand on my shelf, ready to go, to give away to people, to put on different things. So it gives me a variety of both, which I do like. Next up is all of my canned meats. I have canned deer burger here. My husband goes hunting every year, which he is out doing at the moment. And he goes for 1 buck and 2 to 3 does. We're not huge fans of ground buck meat. There are certain applications that we do enjoy, but for the most part, it is really not our favorite. So I can the ground buck meat and turn it into dog food, which my dogs very much appreciate. And then I just have 1 jar left of canned pulled pork meat, which I need to do more of. And then this is canned chicken. And if you've never tried canned chicken before, I would highly recommend. It's very versatile. We put it on pizzas, soups, different casseroles, all kinds of things. This is one of my absolute favorite things to have on my pantry ready to go. And canning meats allows you to not take up so much space in your freezer. So if you are wanting to try canned meat, I would recommend starting with chicken because it is very, very good. And then down here, there's not much on this shelf, but there are a couple of dehydrated goodies that don't fit in my upstairs pantry. So I have dehydrated apples, and then I have dehydrated cherry tomatoes. I puree these every year and turn them into homemade tomato paste. And then the apples are just for a quick snack for my family. My rabbits also really enjoy them. And then we do ones with vanilla, brown sugar, cinnamon on them as well. That is really good for a sweet treat. So those are just in some half-gallon jars down here. And then I have some garnishings for different cocktails and things that I like to make. These are dehydrated full serrano peppers that look really cute on top of like margaritas and things if you make those from scratch. I have dehydrated onions that I need to turn into onion powder. Some dehydrated carrots and dehydrated garlic. I am waiting to do more garlic and then also turn this into homemade garlic powder. I have an extra jar of basil that I will be gifting away to friends and family. And then I have a whole bunch of dehydrated peppers. My favorite thing to do with these is to add them on top of pizzas. It's absolutely incredible. The fresh peppers are also really good, but there's just something about the dehydrated ones on top of pizza that you make. The texture is just really good and the flavor like really comes out through them after being dehydrated. So starting on shelf number 2, this shelf houses all of my pickled items. So I have tons of different pickles. I have whole pickles in a jar. I have pickle slices. I have sandwich pickles. I have, just a variety of different things. I usually do kosher dill every year, sweet and spicy, and then sweet pickles. Those 3 varieties tend to be about our favorite, and I am able to use them in several different ways and applications throughout the year. Then I have some pickled Brussels sprouts. I have pickled banana peppers. This one has jalapenos in it, and the banana peppers were a little bit more mature, so they have some really, really pretty colors in them. And then this is just plain yellow banana peppers. And then these jars right here are also pickled banana peppers, and I do tend to have a lot of pickled banana peppers as the season ends, but they do make wonderful Christmas gifts, and my family is all really big fans of these, so I will be handing these out during the holiday season. And then next is arguably one of my favorite things to pickle every year. This is corn relish. If you have never tried it, I highly recommend. The recipe is in the original Ball canning book, and I love it. We use the sweet corn that we get every year from our local farmer, and I make several jars of this. You've probably seen many people talking about this on YouTube, especially in the homesteading community. I know a lot of people make this every year, but you can also turn this into a dip by adding cheese if you are looking for a new dip to try. It's really, really good. And I know stacking jars is not recommended, you guys, so definitely don't do that. But as temporary as my setup is, I don't really have a choice because I am very limited on space. I cannot fit another shelf down here even if I wanted to. The other shelf that I do plan to put down here is going to be for all of my seed starting, so I still have to leave room for that. So I've had to be a little bit careful about what I can and how much I am doing just to ensure that I have room to put everything everywhere. So then here is just some relish. I can tons of relish every year. I also do a sweet and spicy relish every year that utilizes the pickling cucumbers that I grow along with my hot peppers from my garden. And then here are some pickled radishes. These are one of my favorite things to pickle every year as well. They are super versatile. I really struggle with how to use fresh radishes other than just like on salads and things. So pickling them allows me to put them on salads, burgers, different recipes. You can cut them up and add them to things, and they're very dense and maintain their crunch very, very well. And then I just have some pickled red onions and pickled jalapenos. I have several jars of these. Pickled jalapenos are also one of our favorite things to do every year. I love adding these to tops of nachos and tops of soups, like taco soup. Adding a couple of these on top is really, really good. So moving down to the next shelf, this is where I keep all of my jams and jellies and fruits. I have a ton of different jams and jellies here. I have triple berry, raspberry mango, which is one of my favorites. Then we just have strawberry right here. This is the first time that I canned peach jam. And if you have never tried peach jam, like I had never, you are missing out. I highly, highly recommend. I will can this every single year. And then I just have some standard grape jelly. So this is blueberry jalapeno jam and this is cranberry sriracha jam. We made this together. I will link it above if you want to give these a try. If you are looking for a little bit of a kick on a jam for the holiday season, I would highly recommend either of these. So then I just have some applesauce that I can every year. This is peaches in syrup, and this is peach pie filling. I love having peaches in syrup and peach pie filling on hand, and usually I have apples in syrup and apple pie filling, but I did not do enough of either one of those this year. So next year we will be doing a massive, massive batch of those together. And then moving down to this shelf, this is where I keep all of my sauces. So there is some pepper jelly down here in the corner that did not fit up on this shelf. I also can just standard pepper jelly every year. It's really, really pretty to gift away or bring to the holidays with you. So here I have some cranberry sauce. I have Asian plum sauce. This was my first year trying this and it is incredible. I love adding this on different Oriental recipes. We do homemade crab rangoons and this is really good to dip them in as well. I have homemade barbecue sauce. I do an incredibly sweet barbecue sauce and then I do a more traditional barbecue sauce. I think I have a couple videos back on my shorts if you go look at one of the barbecue sauce recipes that I make. It's called the Pawpaws Bywater recipe and it's in the new Ball Book of Canning. It's incredible. We love making our own homemade barbecue sauces every year, and with all of the tomato products that I grow, we're able to make a lot of that completely from scratch ourselves. Then I have some homemade taco sauce, and then I just have some jars of hot sauce. I always have lots and lots of hot sauce on hand, but I clearly did not can enough of it this year, so next year I will also be making a big batch of this. Super nice. My husband is a spice fiend, so everything hot and spicy he absolutely devours. And then I just have some blueberry vinaigrette. We made this together in one of my previous videos. I will link it above if you want to see how we made this. But it's really, really nice to be able to add to salads. There's literally only two ingredients in this, and it is one of the easiest things to can, especially for beginners. And then this is mango habanero wing dip. You can go back on my shorts and find this recipe. It is fantastic. I will be canning this every single year. Super simple and it packs a punch, but the flavor profile is just really good. It goes really, really well together, and to marinate your wings in, I highly, highly recommend. Over here is grape juice. I just did the quick juice method, I guess you could say, by adding grapes and sugar and filling it up with water in a jar, and it is absolutely not my favorite. I am going to be investing in a steam juicer because I have seen people rave about that. When making your juices from scratch, I just think that that's a much better option, and I think you would get more payoff in terms of flavor. This just tastes like sugar water. I don't know. It's really not my favorite. We have not went through any of them. And the jars have just been bullying me on this shelf every time I come down here and look at them. So I really do need to just bite the bullet and dump them out. It's just obviously very hard to do that. If you homestead or you understand. And then this is my last and final shelf. I have tons of different fermentation crocks and different things that I use throughout the food preservation season. I also found some of these little woven baskets from TJ Maxx that I store my rings and my wide mouth rings in. And then over here is picante sauce. I have a video back on my YouTube for this as well. It is incredible. I wanted an actual picante sauce. Now, if you look up picante sauce on Google, you're going to run into mostly like salsa recipes. I wanted an actual sauce to top things with, and the recipe that I was able to find was from Bernardin, and I followed it exactly to a T, and it came out incredible. So if you are looking for a new thing to try with your tomato products, I would highly, highly recommend. Shelf down, I have a whole bunch of pizza sauce. I still have a ton of tomatoes in my freezer, and I am running low on this, so look out for a future video on this as well, because I need to make a huge, huge batch of this. We love having homemade pizza sauce on hand. It's very simple to can, and I know exactly what goes into this. And then all the rest of these jars here are just different variations of salsa. I have mild salsa, I have spicy salsa, I have a fire roasted salsa that is really, really good. I have cherry tomato salsa. And then I have a spicy pineapple salsa. I love peach and pineapple salsas. Unfortunately, I did not have enough peaches this year to make a peach salsa with, but that is definitely on my agenda next year to can. I have to get super, super far down here so you guys can see. So on this shelf, I have just tons of diced tomatoes. Diced tomatoes are very simple to can. And it's a great way to use the little bits of tomatoes that you get from the garden when you don't have a big batch or enough to do something with. So I love just using the, tomatoes here and there that are trickling in and turning them into diced tomatoes. This is all of my tomato juice. So anytime I can spaghetti sauce or salsa or anything that I can utilize the juice of the product with, I always save it. I have a mild tomato juice and I have a spicy tomato juice. The spicy tomato juice I use mostly for Bloody Mary mixes, but I've also recently been putting it into chilies and making like a spicy chili using the spicy tomato juice, and it is fantastic. And then down here I have some Bloody Mary mix. Now, this is really, really good. Unfortunately, I started making my content after I canned this, but when I go to make more of it, I will definitely be sure to share the recipe with you. My family and I are really big fans of Bloody Marys, and I finally found a recipe that is going to be my go-to Bloody Mary mix recipe from here on out. And then the rest of all of these down here are just marinara sauces. So I do a plain marinara sauce, I do a seasoned marinara sauce, and then I also did a roasted tomato marinara sauce this year using the recipe from the new Ball Book of Canning. It is fantastic. It uses red wine and it gives the marinara sauce just a really, really sweet flavor that I prefer. Now, some people don't like super sweet marinara sauces, and I get a little bit of slack sometimes for adding brown sugar to mine, but I do prefer, and my family does prefer, a sweeter marinara sauce. So if you are looking for something that is along those lines, consider giving that recipe a try because it is really, really good. Okay, friends, so that is the end of this pantry tour. I know it's not as extravagant as some people's on YouTube or some of the other ones that you have probably seen, but I hope that this video gives you guys some inspiration, especially for beginner canners. I hope this has inspired you to maybe get in the kitchen and be creative and try to put something in a jar for the first time if you have never tried it before. Hopefully you have gotten to see something that maybe you would be interested in trying yourself. And I thought that this would be a really good video for you all because you are going to see me start to use a lot of these products throughout the winter months with my cooking. That is usually the time that I really, really, really start diving into everything that I have processed for the year, everything that I have canned. So this will be a good reference video for you all to see some of the things that will be featured in upcoming videos. And I definitely will be partaking in a pantry challenge of some sort. So yeah, it's just really nice to look through these things. I know I really enjoy pantry tour videos on YouTube. So if you are like me, I hope you have found this video helpful and I hope it has brought you some joy. So I just wanted to say thank you guys all so much for tuning in. I will see you in the next video where we finish up making some DIY Christmas gifts together. I will leave the part 1 of that video up above. If you have not seen it yet, go back and watch it, and then stay tuned for part 2 where we finish making a whole bunch of Christmas gifts together to hand out to our friends and loved ones this holiday season. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week, and I will see you next time.